I'm Heather, and for the Module 10 discussion, I'm going to start with number 1, and that is what organizational knowledge is needed to best understand and communicate with their various publics. I quoted, it says, thus, the public relations practitioner begins by researching needs, planning how they may be addressed, executing the communication tactics chosen, and evaluating results. It's important to understand which channels will be best used to appeal to each group, and this can be done by identifying the target publics and then learning about each individual group within them, including the psychographics and demographics. Demographics are going to include gender, income, family size and status, education level, ethnic background, and then the psychographics of a stakeholder group include political preference, lifestyle, and religious preferences. And I think it's important to know how and where to find answers to questions on the public opinion of an organization, certain issues, how the public feels about those, and then how dependent the public is on the said organization or whatever they're trying to relay. These answers can be found by conducting primary and secondary research, and this can help foster productive relationships so that an organization can communicate and understand their various publics. I mean, we learned about, in one of my other classes, customer empowerment, and I mean, whether it's a nonprofit or whatever, but having the public be able to communicate on a two-way street creates and fosters a really good relationship. And for relevant information from my life, when I'm marketing something for work, like on our social media, because I work in a restaurant, I might spend more money on a Facebook paid ad versus a paid Instagram ad because our demographic tends to be on Facebook more. But like a half off wine night, I would devote more money to an Instagram ad because it caters to a younger, more budget conscious crowd. So just understanding what channels to communicate best with and where to put your money and time into is important. For number 2, key similarities and differences between public relations and advertising and marketing. And all of that, the last question, it was found on page 420 to 421. But back to number 2, I'll talk about public relations, and it consists of an organization's communication to the public through uncontrolled media. The goal of this communication is to manage relationships and the public's perception of an organization. Marketing aims to use communications mainly through controlled media to promote a service, brand name, or product to consumers, and then this advertising predominantly uses controlled media channels to influence the behavior of consumers and their specific target markets. And the same goes for marketing and advertising in the way that they use controlled media. There are various differences between the three, and the purpose of public relations is to manage the relationships with the public who relates to the organization. For marketing, it's to promote a service or product to targeted customers or their public. And then advertising, their purpose is to influence targeted customer behavior. And the target for public relations is all public, I guess, not just consumers. The channel that public relations relay their message through is uncontrolled media, while the channels for marketing and advertising are primarily controlled media. I guess I mentioned that earlier. And a commonality between the three is that each incurs the 4-step process of planning, communications, researching above all, and then evaluation. And that creates a productive method where needs are researched and addressed, communication mediums and tactics are chosen appropriately, and then those results are evaluated. This information was found page 418 to 420, and I haven't had any formal PR and advertising experience, but I use social media to market my fitness classes, and I help out with my jobs sometimes, just making posts or whatever they need me to do. So but in my own personal marketing for my fitness classes, I have developed sort of a brand identity, and my goals are to get my friends on social media to come to my classes. I make it a point to preach inclusivity, so my audience is more broad range, really, because I want everybody to feel like they can make that place their space, my studio. And then my objectives are somewhat measurable because I can see who signs up for my classes. My strategies include inspiring people through that inclusivity I was talking about and making it look fun and positive, and working out fun and positive, which it is. But I mean, I don't want to make it look like it's really difficult or it's just a certain demographic of people who are there who are really fit, because it's just not the case. So I think that pretty much covers that question. I'm going to move to number 3. We live in an age where it's becoming increasingly difficult to differentiate between legitimate information and propaganda. This is very true. So I'm going to explain the differences. Legitimate information is based on facts, science, fairness, intends to avoid bias, and it's accurate and probably gets information that's been collected from multiple sources, valid sources, not just one source, and the details have been documented. For this information, the details have been documented and vetted for accuracy. Propaganda seems to be opposite of this in a lot of ways. It encourages people to choose and make decisions without deliberating. It tries to influence behaviors, and 443 describes it to be mindless, and I can understand how it can have kind of a blind, tunnel-like vision. But so that could be considered mindless, but I also think that propaganda is very strategic and calculated. I would say it's based on opinion rather than factual evidence or taking any step of the scientific method to disprove anything or try to gather more evidence. Propaganda is a great way to control people into thinking one way. Legitimate information welcomes debate, and it's dynamic and changes. It's open to change as facts come in, and propaganda is more concrete and doesn't allow for questioning or changing views as much. And then I found this quote, which I thought was really good, and it didn't have an author. It says, it may use truth, half-truths, or lies. To be successful, propaganda taps into our deepest values, fears, hopes, and dreams, and that's where it can get scary. I find this with politics and religion a lot. I feel like it preys on people's values, and I found all of this on the last page, like 443, 442. And I wrote question 4 for extra credit. My question reads, in the 4-step process of campaigning, when does the evaluation phase occur in a public relations campaign? Does that differ from when that phase occurs during a marketing campaign? How important do you think this phase is in the 4-step process? Use the text for your response along with any relevant personal knowledge or experience to support your answer. My question was long-winded, but for marketing, advertising, and PR, the 4-step process is used, and evaluation occurs at the end of the campaign, but it also should occur throughout every phase. It should be ongoing, so you can make sure that your message is reaching the organization's desired publics and audience, and making sure that it's effective. And then if it's not effective, then the trajectory of the campaign or the channels that are being used to convey the message can be reevaluated. This is important because it can save an organization time, money, and their reputation, which is all on the line during a campaign. The basic model should be used in this situation, which is building awareness, advancing knowledge, sustaining relevance, initiating action, and creating advocacy. This evaluation model is a great model to gauge the efficacy of a campaign and can help evaluate the campaign at the end, where the evaluation information can be used as first-hand research, and this data can help to create the next campaign. All this information was found on page 442 through 443, and then also 423. And my work does marketing, but we don't really measure the results. So this makes it difficult to find out what is working, and this motivates my bosses much less to actually do it. So we do it on feel, which would be, I guess, gauging it during the campaign, but that's not really a super good gauge. Thank you.